The Pentagon released a second batch of 64 declassified UFO files on May 22, 2026, including 51 video files, 7 audio files, and 6 PDFs, as part of a transparency initiative ordered by President Donald Trump. This follows the first release of over 160 files on May 8, 2026, made public through the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters, PURSUE, at war.gov/UFO. Still no little green men. Alien fever has gripped a very small, thank goodness, section of the American population as the government is releasing the videos and photos and accounts of unknown things. That is all it has been and all it will ever be. Unknown is unknown. UFO only means unidentified flying object. But it has become a brand name meaning extraterrestrial life we just haven't all seen yet. A lot like the term climate change. A literal statement, that happens to apply completely to every climate event in history, has become a brand name that now means human intervention in natural climate events. Both are totally absurd. And therein lies the actual problem. What we have not seen is based on what we have seen and the mental images created from a complete lack of information. A self-fulfilling prophecy, as it were. Speaking for those people who live their lives controlled by what they have witnessed visually. Sadly, that is the majority of today's ruling class and scientific creatures. The more unknown we see, the more we are convinced the unknown is something important. Not just tossed paper plates and anomalies of photography. When an unknown is described by a witness, the visual thinkers of society fill in the unknown blanks with the picture painted by the description, and wham, unknown becomes familiar. Familiar is repeated until it creates its own image, and there you go. A little green man convert is born. At this point, a slight amount of information that is not unknown is required to set this straight. August 29, 1949 was the first test of a nuclear weapon by the Soviet Union. We all know it takes a rather long time to develop such a device, and that brings us back to when the United States dropped our nuclear weapons. August 6 and 9 of 1945 saw those explosions over Japan. That started the nuclear race, and it started the need to watch the skies. NORAD, North American Aerospace Defense Command, was officially formed on September 12, 1957. There was a joint concern with Canada that the Soviet Union could deliver a nuclear device to North America at any moment. So they watched. But military watching was not good enough. They needed more eyes on the skies. Radar was going to take too long to build. Civil defense was activated as the Royal Canadian Air Force's Ground Observer System was activated in 1950 to help span the space between the threat and the activation of actual radar units. Sometime between 1945 and 1950 something had to be done to watch the skies. Now this is where the waters get murky, and why my idea of writing a fictional book about this topic years ago, call it lazy, never got off the ground. But I still think the idea is correct. Prior to 1947 there had been not a single sighting or even a mention of the topic of extraterrestrial visitors in American history. Recent releases of UFO tripe include back to 1944, but that is just a nice cover for diverting the dates.
The Roswell incident occurred between June 4th and July 10th, 1947, with the initial press release announcing the recovery of a flying disc issued on July 8, 1947. The debris was later identified by the U.S. military as part of a top-secret Project Mogul balloon train designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests.
No little green men. How much of a stretch would it be to conjure up the topic of aliens by using our own military device? And what better way to watch the skies than to enlist every single curious American to do the job? For free. With great interest and gusto. All those years of the Department of Defense, now the Department of War hiding information about aliens was all based on hiding the creation of the entire alien con. Project Blue Book, operated out of the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. Before that was Project Sign, or Project Saucer. Project Sign started in late 1947.
Project Sign or Project Saucer was an official U.S. government study of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, undertaken by the United States Air Force, USAF, and active for most of 1948. It was the precursor to Project Grudge.
Project Grudge.
Project Grudge was a short-lived project by the U.S. Air Force, USAF, to investigate unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Grudge succeeded Project Sign in February 1949 and formally ended in December 1949. It was followed by Project Blue Book in 1952.
The United States government had created a monster of its own. Too many people were too deeply dedicated to the study and uncovering of alien life. All of the data had to be kept under wraps. Especially that pesky Project Mogul balloon train designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests had started a firestorm of public interest. Unstable people capitalized on its existence. Well-meaning researchers fell for it. Project Blue Book.
Project Blue Book was the code name for the systematic study of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, by the United States Air Force from March 1952 to its termination on December 17, 1969. The project, headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, was initially directed by Captain Edward J. Ruppelt. Project Blue Book had two, publicly announced, goals, namely, to determine if UFOs were a threat to national security and to scientifically analyze UFO-related data.
Sounds far more like it was intended to filter and control the ridiculous reports coming in from the disturbed. Have you ever known this government to tell you a straight story?
No UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force was ever an indication of threat to our national security. There was no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represented technological developments or principles beyond the range of modern scientific knowledge, and there was no evidence indicating that sightings categorized as unidentified were extraterrestrial vehicles.
By the time Project Blue Book ended, it had collected 12,618 UFO reports, and concluded that most of them were misidentifications of natural phenomena, clouds, stars, etc., or conventional aircraft. According to the National Reconnaissance Office, a number of the reports could be explained by flights of the formerly secret reconnaissance planes U-2 and A-12. 701 reports were classified as unexplained, even after stringent analysis. The UFO reports were archived and are available under the Freedom of Information Act, but names and other personal information of all witnesses have been redacted. The ending of Project Blue Book, of course, did not end the unknown sightings. Nor did it end the feverish development of Hollywood films depicting aliens overtaking Earth, or as the poor old video store proprietor in Men in Black 2 questioned, "What's up with anal probing?" Visually thinking persons who have been exposed to many instances of unknown flying objects become desirous of confirmation. The more a visual image is supported with additional input of relevant material, the more that image represents truth to the poor person controlled by it. Official misdirection to support the original alien event in Roswell didn't help much.
Project Sign was officially inconclusive regarding the cause of the sightings. However, according to U.S. Air Force Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, the first director of Project Blue Book, Sign's initial intelligence estimate, the so-called estimate of the situation written in the late summer of 1948, concluded that the flying saucers were real craft, were not made by either the Soviet Union or United States, and were likely extraterrestrial in origin. This was subsequently rejected by General Hoyt Vandenberg, U.S. Air Force Chief of Staff, citing a lack of physical proof. Vandenberg subsequently dismantled Project Sign.
It had successfully finished its job of supporting the need to watch the skies.
The RCA-474L Ballistic Missile Early Warning System, MUSE, 474L system, Project 474L, was a United States Air Force Cold War early warning radar, computer, and communication system for ballistic missile detection. The network of 12 radars, which was constructed beginning in 1958 and became operational in 1961, was built to detect a mass ballistic missile attack launched on northern approaches for 15 to 25 minutes warning time. Also provided Project Space Track satellite data, e.g., about 1/4 of SPADIT's observations. It was replaced by the solid-state phased array radar system in 2001.
The government no longer needed the people to do its work. A massive government-sponsored misleading trick played on the American people to enlist their aid in protecting the nation had become the food of Hollywood and the topic of nightmares. Barack Obama said aliens are real during a February 2026 podcast interview with Brian Tyler Cohen, responding to a quick-fire question with,
"They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States."
Obama later clarified that his comment was meant in a statistical and philosophical sense, not as a claim of confirmed extraterrestrial contact. In a follow-up statement on Instagram, he explained, "Statistically, the universe is so vast that the odds are good there's life out there," but emphasized that the chances we've been visited by aliens is low, and "I saw no evidence during my presidency that extraterrestrials have made contact with us." This position aligns with his previous statements on UFOs and UAPs, where he acknowledged unexplained aerial phenomena but not proof of alien life. "The universe is so big there must be more" is the excuse given by otherwise intelligent scientists for what is called the Fermi paradox. Every excuse imaginable has been concocted to somehow justify the absolutely stupid concept that just because the universe is so big, there must be other life out there. No, there does not have to be other life. Anywhere. Imagination is all the paradox is. Barack Obama fell for it and quite obviously violated national security when he declared there was alien life. Donald J. Trump caught him at it, and there came the release of what the government is willing to cough up about its years-long deception.
The U.S. government began releasing declassified UFO files on May 8, 2026, under an executive order from President Donald Trump, who directed federal agencies to disclose records related to unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP, extraterrestrial life, and UFOs. The initial release included 162 files, comprising reports, photos, videos, military records, and astronaut transcripts, published through the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters, PURSUE, at war.gov/UFO.
Obama's lie is proven, but whether anyone has the guts to do anything about it remains to be seen. Don't hold your breath. Obama has been meeting with foreign governments violating the Hatch Act and the Logan Act and is so far scot-free for it. The normal argument rejecting alien life involves distance and duration of required travel and the rest, but those are just as much conjecture as the Fermi paradox is stupid. In the meantime, sorry Charlie.
There are no little green men.
It is fascinating to me though, how easy it is for millions of people to grab a hold of the evidence of fiction just because they can see examples of the fiction and utter brand names of interest but cannot grasp the actual real existence of God, when all of creation shows the evidence. And it too is real. More to say on that topic, when the time is right.